My friend, in, I guess, what can only be described as a world of choreographed consensus and manufactured silences and pretend probity, there is one voice that cuts right through the noise and the BS and the clatter and the clutter like a serrated blade. And that voice belongs to Candace Owens. We are living through an era right now where the truth has become a revolutionary act, where the simple stating of an objective fact is treated in many respects as an act of war by the gatekeepers of the status quo. And for years, I think we all know this, for years, we have watched the elite media, well, what used to be the elite media, the proxies, the sock puppets, the corporate interest groups, and the political establishment build a kind of a fortress of lies designed to keep the American people in a state of perpetual confusion. But they made one fatal mistake. They underestimated the iron-willed resolve of a woman who decided once and for all, absolutely, that she simply does not care what they think of her. Period. Now, this is not just about a commentator or a journalist or an influencer. This is about what amounts to a harbinger of truth, or of somebody who has become a living symbol of courage in a landscape of cowardice, and that is precisely how she is perceived by so many people. People who have not necessarily been involved in any particular aspect or version of politics. Candace Owens is considered by millions to be the ultimate truth teller because she possesses this inimitable, this immutable, this quality that cannot be bought or faked or intimidated. A total absence of the need of and for approval from people she doesn't respect. And while others in the media and various iterations of this are constantly checking the wind and making sure what's okay and what's not, or being paid off, always adjusting their sails to avoid, the cancellation of the week, Candace leans directly into the storm. And she understands something very simple. If the world's most powerful and corrupt institutions are screaming at you, are yelling at you, are telling you what and what not to do, it's usually because you're standing exactly where they don't want you to be. You only take flack when you're over the target. And her bravery isn't just about what she says, it's about the fearless posture she maintains while she says it. This is incredible. She has looked the most vicious mobs in the eye and refused to blink, turning their vitriol into fuel for a movement that is waking up by the millions. And you're seeing this right now. This is bigger than anything I ever thought possible. And I want you to think of the moments, by the way, where she stood alone on the front lines. And I mean alone. She was facing down a culture that demanded her submission. And when the entire world was told to bow to a specific narrative, a particular story, a particular, way of thinking, during the heights of cultural upheaval, Candace Owens was the one pointing out the inconsistencies, the irregularities, the lies that no one else dared to whisper. And she doesn't just challenge, the left or the prototypical left. She challenges the comfortable and the stagnant and the usual and the compromised and the bought and the contaminated, all within the entire political spectrum. And whether she's exposing the financial grift of massive nonprofits that she alleges claim to help the marginalized while lining their own pockets, or questioning the sudden and suspicious shifts in foreign policy, she does it with a surgical precision and with an aplomb that leaves her critics, I guess, with no other defense but personal attacks, because that's all you hear. She's crazy. She's a psychopath. She's a psychotic. She's going to burn in hell. She's crazy. She's demented. You know who they are, right? And the recent controversy surrounding the tragic expurgation of Charlie Kirk and the subsequent fallout with figures like Joe Kent and Andrew Colvett is the perfect example. The perfect example of why the public trusts her. See, while others were content to accept a kind of a tarmac hug and a series of convenient message loading excuses, Candace was the one holding the stopwatch and say, wait a minute, wait. And reading the digital receipts and say, wait. She understands that true respect for a legacy and for a message requires an uncompromising search for the truth, even when that search leads to uncomfortable places. She isn't afraid to ask why certain timelines don't match flight logs, or why the FBI is suddenly targeting a whistleblower all of a sudden, like Joe Kent. Why? Why? For exposing foreign donor pressure? What's going on here? Is that against the law? And to Candace, a friend's memory isn't honored by silence. It's honored by justice and truth and an indefatigable determination for the truth. And she's shown more loyalty than the truth of Charlie Kirk's final days than those who would rather bury the questions, bury the lead, and bury it alongside the man. And where is his wife? Where is she? Fighting for justice along with Candace? No. The courage of Candace Owens is a rare primal force. And we've seen her walk into the most hostile of environments. We've seen it. University campuses. We've seen this before. Late night talk shows. Congressional hearings in particular. And we've seen her dismantle her opponents, not with screams, but with cold, surgical, hard logic. The hard logic of somebody who has done the homework. And she's a master. Or is it a mistress? But she's a master of the receipt. A general in the digital information war who understands that a single screenshot or a text of a group chat can be more powerful than 1,000 hours of corporate news propaganda and analyses. And people call her explosive or dangerous because they are terrified of her clarity. They are absolutely terrified of a woman who cannot be shamed or silenced or shelved or leveraged because she has no shame in the truth. She's unafraid of it. And this is why she's the harbinger of a new era. And this is, I can't say this enough. Candace Owens represents the death of the managed narrative. She has taught an entire group of people a way of speaking that is so difficult for people to understand and to grasp. This is something which I cannot explain in any other way than what we're seeing right here. This is so critical. And I hope that blur didn't fool you right now. Maybe I use that for effect. She is just inane. She's Brobdingnagian. She is colossal in her power. She's taught an entire generation that you don't have to ask for permission to speak. And you sure as hell don't have to apologize to anyone or any group or any faction for being right. Her career is a masterclass, an absolute masterclass in psychological independence. And when the media tried to paint her as some kind of a villain, she simply laughed. She worked harder. And when they tried to deplatform her, when they tried her best, she built her own platform. And she's proven that the cancel culture, this monster, this cancel culture monster, is a paper tiger that only has power if you're afraid of it. And Candace Owens is afraid of nothing. Apparently afraid of nothing. At least that we can see, ostensibly that we can see. She stood by Joe Kent when the establishment tried to ruin him for, of all things, speaking out. Speaking out against certain factions, certain group, certain classes, and then march unnecessarily towards war. He has been indefatigable, and she has respected this. And she stood by the principles of America First when it would have been much easier or much more profitable to play the game and collect a paycheck from the very institutions and the very people that she now exposes. She can't do that. Her integrity is her armor. It's her currency. And every time she is slammed, as they say, by some tabloid, if there are such things anymore, or warned by an anonymous source, her stature only grows. Because, my dear friend, the American people recognize the sound of a voice that isn't cowed, that isn't being puppeteered, that isn't being leveraged or compromised. And we see in her this spirit of the old school pioneers. Seriously. The ones who didn't wait for a consensus before they started digging, digging for the gold, digging, hitting the mines, as it were. She is the light that refuses to go out, and the witness who refuses to be intimidated. And, I will say, the leader who reminds us that the truth doesn't need a PR firm to defend it. It only needs a voice loud enough and clear enough to be heard over the lies. And Candace, by the way, is that voice. And you may think this is overdone, but it's not. I'm not even close to getting to the truth. Candace Owens is a voice, she's the message, and she is just getting started. Now, the question is no longer what the critics think of Candace Owens. I think we've pretty much established that. The question is what you will do with the truth she has laid at your feet. Do not let the courage of this woman go to waste. I can't say this enough. Do not let the sacrifices and the loss and the people and the whistleblowers like Joe Kent be in vain. And it's time, by the way, to stop being a passive observer of the news and start being more active, more of an active seeker of the facts. Share the evidence, ask the hard questions about the timelines, and refuse, my friends, refuse to be silenced, to be cowed, to be shelved, to be stovepiped by the labels they use to keep you in line. Stand with the woman, stand with the American, stand with the person who stands for you. Stand with the truth teller. Stand with Candace Owens. And let us together, you and me, Candace and everybody else, build a future where the truth is not some luxury, but a birthright, an absolute. The walls of this fortress that I talk about, the walls are cracking. And it's time to keep pushing until they finally fall. If you think I'm just exaggerating, if you think this is just some attempt to schmaltz it up, you're missing the point. I'm going to leave you with one final word, which is the most critical. Charlie Kirk was a good man. And Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be shot down like a dog and ignored. I'm not going to ignore what happened to him. I am not going to ignore it. And when it comes time for the trial and the other particular evidence, provided Mr. Robinson is still with us, provided he has not been inadvertently prematurely eliminated, we're going to pour over the contents of that case and that trial like you cannot believe. And I will lend my expertise. And I will provide and join Candace's army and you, good friend, as we soldier on and march towards the truth and justice for Charlie. I can't say this enough. As far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure you agree with me, and I know Candace does, he will not be forgotten. He will not have died in vain.